What is going on, Alpha Hunters? Hope everybody's having a very marvelous Monday. Yes, very marvelous. Hopefully, you had a marvelous weekend as well. And let's see what's kind of going on. Kind of mentioned this at the end of last week. I'm not expecting much this week, especially to start out the week. If we did wind up ripping bullish and made it to all-time highs on the SPY, I'd be looking to pull it back a little bit. But as I really didn't think that would happen. I thought we'd be more choppy until we got to Wednesday, where we got the FOMC day, and then we get the rate cut. Market rips it, finally gets what it's been wanting. But would that be fool's gold kind of scenario? Kind of, I guess. All right, well, we'll see. We'll see. I think it probably will be, but it's fine. We'll take it one day at a time, baby. Anyways, SPY currently trading down, a little bit choppy day. A little bit of a gap down to start the week. Not really much of one, just a little bit of a gap down there. Trade lower the first 10 minutes. And then, nice strong move there for the next 10 minutes or so. Got a little bit of a double top, a little bit lower double top high there. And yeah, we had a nice little sell-off about 30-40 minutes ago. Okay. Made new daily lows, kind of bounced, retested right into these previous kind of support levels. And we're starting to roll back over here the past 20 minutes. Now, the interesting thing, I don't think we got really any economic data. We typically don't on Mondays. We did kind of have somewhat of a political event happen yesterday with an attempted assassination again on Trump. So the market's not really responding to that. And I was even watching futures last night, especially when some of that news was kind of coming out. Not much was kind of going on with that. So as far as the Qs, okay, Qs had a pretty good gap down today. And you can see the gap down almost 0.5%, not quite. So they got close to gap down 0.5%, but it was really kind of towards the lows of Friday. You can see a pretty quick sell-off there the first 5 minutes, then it bounced, kind of retested maybe into this low. I mean, this kind of looks like it could be a head and shoulders type pattern. If you're looking intraday, right, you got the shoulder, neck, and then the head comes up. What is going on? Got another neckline. You got a shoulder. So we could be breaking down this possible head and shoulders over like an intraday time period. Let's see. It's possible. It doesn't look particularly clean, but it's possible. Anyways, but we are seeing the Qs roll down about 1% right now, and I mean that's not, I mean with how close we are for the SPY to be at all-time highs, it's not exactly what we want to be seeing on from the Qs. Intraday on the IWM, nice little gap up, choppy day here as well, pretty much slightly negative, not really too much kind of going on there. The DIA basically gapped up about a third. It's currently up about a third. Nice run first 30 minutes, but it has pulled back here over the past hour. RSP, nice gap up, choppy day sideways. Currently up about a 0.4%, so it looks like it roughly gapped up about 0.4%. As far as intraday looks, RSP hit another intraday all-time high. Nice little upper wick there. So the RSP's been crushing it here over the past 3-4 trading days. Okay. DIA, also another all-time high today as well. All right. IWM looking pretty good on the gap up, but it has sold down from that. And I'm not too shocked by that because kind of as we looked at the last week, we had a pretty strong move the second half of the week. So we got it pretty extended. So it kind of makes sense that maybe we chop, move sideways, rest, as you call it, as you'd want to call it, on a lot of these ETFs and major markets. Qs, though, a little bit of a pullback here today. Be curious. Obviously, you can tell there's a huge difference between the Qs and basically the DIA RSP, right? I mean, these guys are going higher. Qs going lower. So typically when we see that over shorter time frames, I mean, this is a much larger time frame that we've seen this kind of price action happen on. And obviously it goes back to how much the Qs got hit there in the second half of July, very beginning of August, and then how much it hasn't really bounced back since. So yeah, not exactly a good thing, I would say, for the stock market, because if the Qs, which weighs so much, is starting to change, be interesting to see what happens going forward. Anyways, SPY, I mean, it's roughly up there at all-time highs. Not really doing too much. Kind of just more of a sideways day. Hasn't broken Friday's low. Not saying it won't by the end of the day, but I mean, just kind of hanging out, a little small day. Not doing too much. So we'll see. Maybe we drop off tomorrow, come have a lower wick and bounce as we then go into Wednesday. Would probably give us some pretty good slingshot momentum. Maybe let me get the marker brush, whatever. Maybe something like this if we have a small day like that, but we drop off and then we even wind up bouncing by the end of the day. And do something like that by tomorrow. We start, drop, come down, hit the moving averages, and even bounce. Then as we go into Wednesday, actually might not be a bad play. So if we do wind up dropping tomorrow, so like if it happens early on tomorrow is kind of what I'm saying. If it happens early on tomorrow, maybe like the first hour before we get on the live stream, I'd be a little bit more willing to be day trading it bullish, maybe even a couple days bullish, possibly going into Wednesday. That's what I would be looking to do. That's what I'd be looking to do. If we do wind up then closing at the lows tomorrow, and we can probably reassess that tomorrow when we get on live stream, but if we do wind up closing back down at the lows tomorrow, if like we do sell off in the morning and then we try to bounce but we roll back over, I don't know how much I would really like that, but we can assess that tomorrow. All right, as far as the VIX Monday gap up, makes perfect sense. Back down the teens. Typically on Mondays we get a little bit of a gap up. Obviously we're having a little bit of bearishness on the market, nothing crazy, but it's mostly just gap up there on the VIX. DXY still just chopping sideways here. I mean, it's back down to lows it's put in here over the past couple of weeks, and if we get through that level, then obviously I think we're moving down to like 99.5, 99.6, 99.7, something like that. So that would be the move you're probably looking for. And obviously, it's gonna make perfect sense now, because I mean, obviously we're getting really good support here at 10.5, 10.6, or 10, 100.5, 100.6. So if we get through that, I mean, it might be an easy trade back down to this level. I mean, nothing's an easy trade, but obviously, clearly we have an easy support level right here, and it's just kind of interesting because we're just bouncing in this zone. We're not really getting through it. We're trying to bounce on the zone. Kind of interesting. GLD Gold Trust, flat today. Not really doing a whole lot. All right, moving on. 10-year yield. 10-year yield. Kind of just hanging out. A little bit negative. Moving down a little bit. 10 and 2 inversion. Looking like it's going to keep going higher. Keep going into the normal area, the non-inverted area. So there you go. So 10 and 2 looking kind of good. HYG looking pretty good. Yields are moving lower. All right. LQD looking pretty good. I'll tell you, I'm going to back out here. I'm going to take a look at a weekly. So we got through this level. It's kind of where we chopped, which was basically this high back from August of 22. Kind of just chopped there, tried to break out and pulled back. Now we're moving higher. So it makes sense to probably come up at least to this 80 level. So we don't have too much further to go. A little bit over 80 there on the HYG. LQD breaking some highs here over the past couple of weeks. Going to have a pretty good high here around 115 or so. Yeah, about 115. We had a high there back in August of 22 and also May of 22. So yeah, 115 might be a pretty good top spot there. If we can get through that, yeah, I'd say we might be on a little bit of a run, because yeah, look at that support level, support and resistance level right in through that 115 level. So obviously we have several times where we bounce kind of on this level, and then obviously we when we broke that back down in 22, we double tapped it twice and just rolled over, and we haven't been back to it since. So as we approach into that, I just expect 115 level to be a little bit of a, choppy issue there. TLT isn't nearly as bullish. This has a lot more to do with, treasury bonds, right? Treasury bonds are quite a bit more relationship driven with the bond yields because the bond yields are, well, treasury bond yields, right? So the LQD, HYG are more of, they're a little bit more on the business side, the corporate side, high, risky side. Anyways, TLT here. It looks like we are finally getting through this high back in, was that December of 23? So about 9 months ago. Obviously, we do have quite a bit of a choppy zone here, but I mean, if we're going to break through that level, maybe we do make a run to 110-ish, which is about where all these tops were, where this pivot level was back in June of 22, which let me check the 10-year yield. So maybe we do kind of come down to 3.4 or so, which would be the lower end of like kind of this little nice little rounded bottom that we put in at the beginning of 23. So that might coincide pretty well with the TLT getting up to that 110 level. I think that's probably the way you're looking at some of those. And as far as sector rotation, to start out the week, we got tech underperforming. It makes the most sense, right? Qs are underperforming. So tech is underperforming. Discretionary is underperforming there a little bit as well. Everything else is outperforming. Industrials, communications, staples doing pretty good. Real estate materials also doing decently well. Energies, utilities, healthcare, and financials at the upper end of the day. Yeah, energies got hit pretty good last week. As far as intraday, yeah, energies, we did just see that energies had a pretty good gap up on the day, so they've kind of been fading throughout the day. So they just had a really good gap up on the day. Anyways, energies are kind of at the lower end intraday. Industrials also underperforming. Materials, real estate, staples, discretionaries all underperforming. Communications kind of in line with the market there. Healthcare outperforming a little bit. Financials, utilities outperforming, and tech is actually leading the day. So tech just got hit with a pretty good gap down on the day. Yeah, so you can see energies gapped up pretty good. Tech gapped down pretty good. And intraday price performance is basically rotation out of one and into the other.